Welcome to Design Domination, where you'll learn to become a better, more business-savvy designer so you can dominate your competition. Do you want to gain a competitive edge over other designers and get better results from your branding and design work? If so, check out my new accessible branding and design course at creative-boost.com and then select courses. Hi, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Colleen Grotzer, and in this episode of Design Domination, I'm giving you my thoughts on the word freelancer, the other F word. Stick around to find out if using that word with prospects could be holding you back. I want to start off by making it very clear that what I am about to get into, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being a freelancer. No. What I don't like is how many designers call themselves freelancers when they really aren't. They're doing much more than what a freelancer does. Also, though, I don't think they understand how that word can hold them back. Let's look at a freelancer versus the term business owner. Well, a freelancer is typically someone who is filling a temporary spot. For instance, a company might hire a freelancer while their graphic designer is on maternity leave. A company might hire a freelancer to handle overflow work here and there because they have reduced staff. Their staff is just too busy at that time. Or maybe they're in the process of interviewing to fill that position with a full-time employee. A freelancer usually has very little say or control over certain aspects of a project, and that often includes the design. They must answer to the hiring company. In other words, the freelancer is in a receptive, order-taking position. The reality is that most freelancers are actually business owners. Maybe calling yourself a business owner feels too stiff. Maybe it doesn't feel right because, well, maybe you don't have anyone else working with you. But a business doesn't need to have employees to be considered a real business. Heck, if you're paying taxes, the government sees you as a business. If you're making over a certain amount of money, it's a business, not a hobby. A business owner also sets their business hours. I hope you do at least. A business owner works when they want to. A business owner sets their own rates. A business owner has to think about getting new work. A business owner has to send estimates and contracts. A business owner is also responsible for their own medical benefits and retirement contributions. Most freelancers are indeed doing all of these things. A business owner also makes the rules. No one else does. The business owner puts themselves in a proactive position. Now, even if you're a designer who prefers to be a subcontractor to creative agencies and not have to go find the end clients, you're still a business. You've just got a specific niche, a specific audience. But you are a business and you have to act like one. And when you think like a business, you think about how you can get the work done profitably. And that's something that a lot of freelancers aren't thinking about. You also become more objective in your decisions. You're a business owner. You can charge whatever you want to. You can do whatever you want to. You can take on whatever work you want to or don't want to. And when you don't see yourself as a business, you don't necessarily get treated as a business owner either. Instead, you let the client lead, and you put yourself in a receptive, order-taking position. When you call yourself a freelancer, it can affect how clients perceive you. And that doesn't always work to your advantage. Freelancers, as I described them earlier, are usually paid an hourly rate. Unfortunately, it's also usually one that's dictated by the company that hires them. They might also say that they'll only pay up to such and such an hour. They're typically mostly concerned with the hourly rate and paying for your time rather than your expertise. Not only that, but clients might feel they can negotiate pricing with a freelancer as opposed to a business. After all, you don't have anyone else working with you, so you must have low overhead costs. That may or may not be the case, but it's none of their business. If the client is a company with employees, as opposed to a solo business owner, they know they're bigger and they might think that they have more power or influence over a freelancer. Like you need them more than they need you. That's definitely not a good position to be in. It should be 50-50. Clients may think freelancers aren't capable of taking on multiple projects at a time, or larger jobs. In the early days of working for myself, a client didn't hire me for a freaking media kit job because I didn't have anyone else working with me. As if that's a multi-person job. That's so ridiculous. Clients might expect freelancers to respond to calls, emails, and texts outside of normal working hours. They might think a freelancer is unreliable or not really serious, that this is kind of a side gig and you could just go quit and just not finish the job at any time. Let's talk about some mindset issues around the word freelancer. The word freelancer doesn't describe what you do, your expertise, the results you get for your clients. Honestly, I think of it's more a diminutive term when used in that sense. Maybe you're more comfortable with the word freelancer because it's less formal. You're a creative after all. But maybe you're afraid to call yourself a quote-unquote real business, especially if you aren't doing it full-time. If you call yourself a business, will that mean clients have higher expectations? Will that mean you have to create a formal legal business structure? Maybe that all intimidates you. A lot of solo designers, and hey, I used to do this too, will try to do everything themselves instead of thinking about what's actually profitable. They stay in freelancer mode. They take on work they aren't necessarily good at instead of subcontracting that work or referring it elsewhere. Also, how you describe yourself to others reflects your own thoughts about yourself and your business. It reminds me of when life coach Tanya Geisler years ago asked me why I was calling myself just a graphic designer when I had been in business for myself for 12 years at that time and had more than 20 years of experience in the industry. She actually came on the podcast to talk about imposter syndrome in episode 10. But that was the start of realizing I had a ton of self-limiting beliefs to be addressed, and I needed to find out where the heck they were coming from. There's much more to all of that story, but it was no coincidence that I had been bullied as a kid and then later in life let clients bully me too. Some paid late constantly. Some jerked around deadlines all the time. And some of them were just jerks. But notice I used the word let. And that's because you have to set the tone for how clients will treat you and then take action when it's not okay. Remember, you're in charge. It's your business and you're in charge. You enforce the rules of how to work with you. If you have any self-limiting beliefs that you need to address, they will affect your business. Because everything trickles down from your mindset. Designers need to start asserting themselves more and changing the conversation. If you want to be perceived differently, if you want to get more respect, it starts with you. It all starts with what you call yourself and how you put yourself out there, because that starts painting the picture for potential clients right there. So, if you don't call yourself a freelancer, what do you call yourself instead? How about, and it could be a combination of these, business owner, solopreneur, self-employed, independent, branding expert, web design expert, brand specialist. Please, just anything but the F word, unless it actually applies. Do you want to get more respect and command higher rates? I can help you go from order taker to expert through mentoring, my free guides, and premium resources such as my brand style guide builder, brand identity builder, and my website accessibility course. You can find out more at creative-boost.com. You can also join me and other creatives in the Design Domination Facebook group.